Good afternoon. This is Media Center, Ukraine, Odessa. We continue our work. We continue discussing important topics related to the city of Odessa and the Odessa region. And now we are going to discuss energy security and energy efficiency improvement of buildings, as well as how to get grant assistance to improve the energy efficiency and to organize shelters in Odessa houses. We have several participants of the project with us today. Svitlana Slesarenok, coordinator of the ComAct project and leader of the club Shornomorskiy zhinochiy club, and MAMA-86-Odesa NGOs. Svitlana, the floor is yours. First of all, I would like to say that we are all united by the Odessa Houses associations encompassing several dozens of Odessa condominiums. Odessa condominiums have seen the whole range of problems due to the full-scale invasion. The main problem is the loss of management of the houses due to the fact that the managers of the houses left and many houses remained orphans, so to say. There were cases when the sewer was clogged and nothing could be done. There were no keys. It was impossible to call the plumber. Another problem is that our condominiums are in so-called residential areas of our city, and these districts don't have shelters at all. That's why if there are missile or drone attacks, people have nowhere to hide. And these houses have basements. That's why we decided to do something about the situation, because people need to get shelter, to get into shelter in case of the air raid alert. And the third problem was blackout, when there was no power supply, resulting in the whole range of challenges. That's why the Association Odessa Housing Union, together with activists, decided to do something about the situation. There is the resource center in our union, organized as part of the project Community Actions to Reduce Energy Poverty, which is shortened to ComAct, which is implemented by the Odessa Housing Union in partnership with 10 NGOs from 9 European countries, and for the implementation of which it received funding from the Research and Innovation Program of the European Union, Horizon 2020. The war has changed all our approaches and priorities. In the conditions of war, the safety of people and buildings became a priority. ComAct is the project, first of all, dealing with an energy efficiency. And we understood that we can create shelters for people to be safe, and at the same time to start energy modernization in the basements of our buildings. Using the funds from the ComAct project, we have examined 50 buildings. Yevgeny Pavlovich will share more details. In 20 buildings, there was an energy audit conducted, and the energy modernization plans were developed for 12 houses. And the Eco-Feminist Fund provided some funds for the project, and we were able to buy the system of uninterrupted power supply. In Natalya house, for example, the pipes were insulated. But we continue our work. Habitat International Fund have offered the program Habitat for Odessans. And Yevgen Pavlovich will share more details about insulation of pipes in our basements. That's how we solve the issues. So we manage to improve energy efficiency of our basements and to have shelters in those basements at the same time. We're like everyone, we're like aunts in Ukraine. All of us contribute to the victory, and we're no exception. There is one more fund, Natalya, whom offered funds to support the poorest people with hygiene kits. People were even more happy with the hygiene kits than with the work done in their basements. And now I would like to give floor to Yevgeny Pavlovich. Yevhen Malnev, chairman of the Odessa Housing Association. Can you share more information about the experience of improved energy efficiency and the creation of bomb shelters at the same time? When the full-scale invasion started, and during the first few days everyone was shocked, and we were no exception, then Odessa residents started in mass leaving Odessa. We saw the problem, the loss of control of the condominiums, because the heads of them condominiums just left the city. And we understand that such condominiums are self-governed, because most decisions are made by the majority of people living in a house, so the owners of apartments. But without our managers, we had no legal tools to make decisions, including the managerial decisions. We understood the threat, and the first thing we did is to find in a legal environment legitimate way to make managerial decisions for condominiums to be preserved as legal entities to perform their functions. In our new paper, the Association of the Association of Odessa Housing developed legal approaches for remaining people in their houses and condominiums during the war. We have published our approaches based on the centralized powers in the heads of the board, because the general meeting is the highest tool, and the board was the second tool, and we offered to center all authorities in the hands of the board for the period of the war. The second challenge we faced is that we had no shelters. There is a small number of shelters in Odessa, and not all of them were used as intended. We have referred to the authorities of the city and the Odessa region, but no solutions were offered, so we had to find our own solution. We try to learn to the experience of Kharkiv, because Kharkiv was heavily shelled back then. We contacted the professor of the Academy of Housing Economy, who shared her experience, and we published this information in our newspaper as well. We had a Zoom conference to which we invited the representatives of Israel, because we know this Israel has a vast experience of how to survive systematic shelling of the population. We also invited the experts of the Odessa Academy of Construction and Architecture. We tried to find technical solutions to provide the protection for the population to the maximum extent possible in case of missile attacks. We have developed our recommendations. We also understood that we need not only to provide some theoretical solutions, but to use them in practice. We managed to get some funds, as it was mentioned before, and we wanted to use them to the maximum extent possible. Of course, we should provide power supply in case of blackout because of missile attacks. The city tried to solve the issue using generators, but generators require professional operators and fuel. We had a different option. We bought big accumulators, inverters, and we bought the lamps and installed everything in our basements. Such emergency systems provided power supply for 10 hours. That was the first step. Then we thought about the climate and the conditions in our basements, because in February, when the centralized heating systems were activated, then it was quite hot in basements, up to 25, 28 degrees. That's why then we understood that we need to decrease temperature in our basement. So the easiest way was to open doors and window, but we could be more energy efficient and to redirect the heat into the house. So what we did, we insulated our pipelines. Natalya will share more details about how it was done in her house. So we saw that that was quite an effective approach. So we decided to think of something else to save energy and to ensure proper climate in the basement. So the next step was to establish the individual self-regulated weather points. So that's how we came to the idea to create shelters and to make the first stage of the energy modernization of the apartments and the houses. The Habitat International provided funds to establish habitat for Odessans. I was the one who lobbied the project. We got support from our United States colleagues. They provided funds, and during 4 months we were able to conduct energy modernization in 12 houses of Odessa. I could speak for 2 more 3 hours, so I will stop here because I understand that we're limited in time. If you have any questions, I will happily answer them. I would like to give floor now to Natalya Gorpenko, head of cooperative Moryak. What was done in your building, in your house? Moryak condominium has been a member of the association for quite a long time, and we read the mentioned periodical on the regular basis. From the newspaper, I learned that we could participate in the energy efficiency program. I submitted application to Yevhen Malnev. What we were offered to do? First, to insulate the heat pipes. And it is really very efficient. But first, our plumber was very skeptical about that. But after the work was done, it helped to decrease temperature in basement to the comfortable level. The next step, it was our heating hub. Our condominium will celebrate 57 years in August, and we understand that the buildings are outdated, and our residents are elderly people, pensioners who don't have enough money to cover all work. That's why such heating point that allows to save money and energy was very helpful to us. Unfortunately, our heating point was used only for less than months, but we were able to save 5 hryvnias for 1 square meter. And that was really very significant for us. And the heating season usually lasts for 5 months, and this is a great possibility to save money. I'm really very thankful to the association that organized such support, and I would also like to thank Habitat, and I would like to ask them to continue this program, because our condominium has 5 houses, but unfortunately we were able to modernize only 2 of them. That's why it would be great if the program is continued. Thank you. I have some questions to you. Let's add some call to action. Let's imagine that representatives of other condominiums are now here listening to you, how they can get grant to modernize their basements and to organize shelters there. Condominiums, unfortunately, will not be able to get quick grants, but there is another legal method. These are the co-founding mechanisms together with municipal programs. In Odessa, these programs are called the capital repair programs, but they also envisaged the energy modernization of the multi-story buildings in the city of Odessa. We have developed such a program. We have submitted it to the session of the Municipal Council. We discussed it a lot, but it was successfully barred by our Municipal Council. That's why I think that we should come back to the experience that have been proved to be efficient in practice. And now I'd like to explain what is the Habitat for Odessans project is. This is the co-founding project for the first stage of modernization of the multi-story buildings and also condominiums. Condominiums pay up to 20% of the cost of the project, and the rest is covered by Habitat for Humanity. Association of Odessa Housing Union is responsible for guidance, technical monitoring, control, and we also play a role of general contractor for the work and for the activities. And of course, there was a competition for the subcontractors that we selected. We have the criteria to assess contractors. There was a competition for them. And we have all documents, all the supporting documents. It took us only 4 months to modernize 12 buildings, and the Energy Efficiency Fund for 4 years have modernized only 6 houses. This is the national fund. So you can compare the efficiency of our activities when it is initiated by people. The co-founding programs that you've mentioned that were barred by the Municipal Council, and Habitat for Humanity is another program. Yes. So the co-funding programs do not work, unfortunately, but there is Habitat for Odessans program, and you are also the part, your association is the part of this project. To get the grant, the condominiums should address your association, and you will be able to help them. Yes, you need to be a condominium and to submit to our program. That's all you need. And then you need to sign the act of transferring of the equipment and the work. So you have to sign only 2 documents. All the work is done by us. As for the shelter, of course, when it comes to energy efficiency, it's clear now. It's lighting. It's the comfortable level of the environmental temperature. But when it comes to shelter, this is the question of the second exit. This is the question of ventilation. This is not directly related to energy efficiency, but have it been provided for the 12 buildings that you've mentioned? When we were developed terms of reference, we included the requirements of having the second exit and ventilation. But unfortunately, this involves some construction activities, and we don't have funds for that. If we need to ensure proper safety and security for people, and Natalya actually worked with us so to reconstruct the basement. We contacted the construction academy. We addressed the local authorities. Unfortunately, there are so many challenges, and the experts cannot solve them. We are not constructors and developers ourselves. That's why these should be additionally examined to make proper energy efficiency solutions. Of course, we cannot turn our basements into classical bomb shelter, but these payments anyway will be able to preserve a lot of people, and it was proved by Kharkiv experience. And my friend, who is from Kharkiv, she was in a basement of her house when her apartment was hit by a missile. And she survived because she was in the basement. Thanks to the fact that she was a basement where she could stay during shelling. Yes, thank you. Now it's clear. Thank you very much for the information shared. If journalists are interested in this topic, we'll provide contacts of our today's guests. Thank you very much for being here today with us, and thank you for sharing your experience. That was the last briefing in the Media Center Ukraine, Odessa for today. So please stay tuned for the next week.